Heavy. Military radar advises they are picking up intermittent primary target behind you. In trail, I say again.
The Boeing 747 cargo jet is on a routine flight from Paris to Tokyo, cruising at 600 miles per hour at an altitude of 35,000 feet. It heads towards Anchorage, Alaska to refuel. Suddenly, at 5:11 p.m., Captain Kenju Terauchi, a pilot with 29 years flight experience, sees three large, fast-moving unidentified objects 2,000 feet below them. The largest object is described by Captain Terauchi as resembling, quote, a shelled walnut. Captain Terauchi describes the main craft as being twice the size of an American aircraft carrier. After several minutes of observing the UFO, the pilots realize the objects are now matching their speed, 600 miles per hour, tracking them. The captain reports that the objects begin, quote, making moves that are impossible for any man-made aircraft to perform. Then, without warning, two of the smaller craft suddenly rise and shoot directly in front of the pilot's window. The objects come so close to the airplane that Captain Terauchi says the intense glow makes his face feel warm. At that very moment, the radio link to Anchorage goes dead, leaving the aircraft flying blind. A horrifying catastrophe is seconds away, but the UFOs rise and veer left.
Deviate from some object, requesting 240. Spinner 1628 Heavy, deviations approved as necessary for traffic. It's quite a big, like a formation.
In his official FAA report, Captain Terauchi says, quote, we had to get away from that object.
Spinner 1628, sir, do you still have the traffic? Disappears, Spinner 1628. Spinner 1628, I understand you do not see the traffic any longer? Okay.
Moments later, an urgent message comes in from Elmendorf Air Force Base. The unidentified object now appears on their radar.
Yeah, that's 1-2 again. We have confirmed there is a flight size of 2 around your 1550 squawk. One primary return only.
Okay, where is he following him?
It looks like he is, yes.
Okay, stand by.
The phrase flight size of 2 indicates that JAL 1628 has uninvited guests with possible hostile intentions.
Spinner 1628 Heavy, military radar advises they are picking up intermittent primary target behind you. In trail, I say again.
Immediately after this confirmation, the FAA requests that the Air Force scramble jets.
Do you have anybody to scramble up there, or do you want to do that?
Oh, we're going to talk to your liaison officer about that.
It's starting to concern Japan Airlines taking the 360 now, and still following.
Okay, we'll call the military desk on this.
Although the military desk took no action, JAL 1628 was able to land safely in Anchorage at 6:20 p.m.
It's an unidentified flying object.
Hovering over Stephenville. It's a half a mile wide and about a mile long.
It was very intense, bright light.
They were dancing around and they were flickering
So fast when it took off.
We're not all a bunch of idiots, you know. There's so many people that saw it.
We're back. Angelina Joyner remains with us. She's in Stephenville, and here in Los Angeles, Dr. Seth Shostak. Joining us from Denver, Colorado, is Glenn Schultz, former U.S. Army radar system specialist. He used the Freedom of Information Act, by the way, to get the radar data relating to the skies over Stephenville and what might have been sighted. And in Austin is Robert Powell, Director of Research for the Mutual UFO Network. He also obtained radar data relating to Stephenville UFO sightings. MUFON, by the way, his organization, is sponsoring the 39th Annual International UFO Symposium later this month in San Jose. All right, Glenn Schultz, what do we know?
Larry, what we know is that we got an excellent set of data from the FAA Fort Worth Air Route Traffic Control Centers, and we're very thankful to Mark, Connie, and Greg down there for doing a very, very good job. Gary, I think it is.
And the data tells us?
Well, the first thing we found, the question is, what did we find when we looked at this data? The first thing we found was we had 25 million words, 2.5 million lines, 10 words per line. We had the King James Version of the Stephenville Radar Book. I want to repeat that. We had the King James Version of the Stephenville Radar Book. And I'm not saying that facetiously or in jest. We had, in my estimation, after I looked at the quality of this data, which I spent the first 2 weeks doing, we had an unabridged, unedited, unadulterated set of excellent data, not touched by human hands, but the result of...
All right, Glenn, what do we know?
Well, in a brief time we have, Larry, all I can do is refer you to what I hope we can do is show you chart 1, because that tells you volumes just with one chart, more than I could do in 10,000 words. Can you...
All right, do we have the chart?
There?
I assume, do we have it? Okay. Okay, there it is.
Okay. Do you see the complexity of that plot? Do you see the number of specks on that plot? Each one of those specks is a radar return. You're looking at probably 100,000 radar returns, and these are skin paint returns. These are not returns from beacons. These are unknown objects in the air that are returning a skin paint target to an antenna in Texas. Furthermore, you're looking at 2.5 hours worth of time there. So you're seeing a global view of what we found in this data from one antenna, and we had data from 5 antennas, so we were able to check book, chapter, and verse here against each other.
What does it tell you, Robert Powell?
By that question, Larry, do you mean what does it tell me in terms of just the raw amount of data?
Do you think it reaffirms your feeling about UFOs?
Well, the data itself doesn't, but once we interpret the data and analyze it, it reaffirms that a lot of what the witnesses saw is confirmed by this data.
Okay. Could others look at the data and refute that?
Well, I would say that Glenn and I have put in several hundred hours, so it would take someone a long time to try to refute that, and I don't believe that they would be able to.